Welcome back to another episode of the OfferMojo Show, where we talk all about crafting, scaling, marketing, and selling aligned and profitable offers. One of the offer models that is just raging everywhere is the community-based offer. And while I believe that this is a really good thing for what's going on in our world today, just the way business, how busy like the online space is. I think communities are amazing, and I also think that a community-based offer isn't the right model for everyone. However, that's what we're going to be diving into today with our guest is memberships and community-based offers. What's working in 2026 and what is not? So I want to introduce our guest today. Kelly Vercoda is a membership and online community strategist who helps business owners and leaders build memberships and communities that actually feel good to run. Through a mix of strategic clarity and ongoing support, she helps clients grow sustainably without adding more noise or complexity. She's based in Minnesota and believes the best businesses are built on impact, connection, and integrity. So welcome, Kelly, to the show. I'm glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's give the audience a little bit of background because I love meeting people who have specialized and have chosen a specific niche. Tell us a little bit about like your background and how you got into like this specific niche of memberships and community-based models.
Sounds good. So
Okay.
yeah, I kind of fell into it. I feel like I was back in 2016. I was kind of doing some, behind the scenes work, and one of my clients was a really good friend of mine, and so I was doing kind of like the OBM stuff. And she was a coach for adoptive foster parents. Would always say, as long as I'm on this planet, no family will have to do this alone. I'm like, that's a really great mission, and it's going to be hard to do that only one-on-one. So kind of long story short, we put a membership into her business, and it just really was a game changer for her business. But where it was really this game changer was for the community, for those parents, because they got to sit at this virtual table with people who got it. They were on that same path, that same journey. They felt safe, they felt connected, they belonged, and they got this really great support. And where I ended up landing in this niche was my friend unexpectedly passed away in 2019. And so I had to do a lot of soul searching of like, okay, what am I missing in my business outside of my friendship part? And it was helping people that just wanted to create an impact and impact more people and community and membership. And so I just am like, okay, that's where I put my stake in the ground just at the beginning of 2020 and said, yep, that's where I want to land, because I feel like that's my sweet spot of helping people, and it also filled my cup. So I have just gone all the way in since then.
Okay. So what do you think, like this community membership? I mean, you've been in it obviously, kind of like you started one for a friend in 2016 and then really leaned into it in 2020. But here we are in 2026, and this is all I hear. Honestly, it's all I hear. Why do you think like now in 2026, like this type of model is like really like being highlighted?
I keep saying, and it seems like I say it every year, but I just feel like the community piece of it is what people are really craving, and this connection and that piece. And then also we're in this age of just information overload. We can get it anywhere, between ChatGPT and Google, and just we're so inundated with information. I think people aren't looking for that anymore. So they're looking for something where there's community, or where there's looking for access for, one-on-one with the coach, but at a lower price point. They're looking for accountability. They're just looking for something different that feels, I guess, more narrow than just this broad barrage of content.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I've been in this business, in the industry for a really long time. I started my business in 2016 as well. And I've seen memberships evolve over time. I've been in different memberships, and I want to get into all of this nuance. But let's talk about like what you've seen that has really changed in how, I guess, what makes a successful membership today versus what it looked like, back in 2020, for instance.
I think it used to be this, people were coming for this content, like, give me all the content, give me all the,
Mm-hmm.
all the information you have, whether this vault of content was such a big deal. And back then it was like, okay, let's give them a roadmap to navigate all of that. But, all of that. But I think people are looking for something different now. And so I see that people are, I think the most successful memberships are really leaning into that. A lot of them have, if they were in that same model before, a lot of them, have kind of gutted out what they were offering and simplifying it. I think it just
Mm-hmm.
is a better experience for the members. It's probably a more aligned fit for the person running them,
Mm-hmm.
but really leaning into what are people looking for and what are they needing. And most often it is not a whole lot more content.
That's true. It reminds me of a leadership coach that I had worked with, and she had put together, it wasn't so much a membership as a full, kind of like a full coaching program, like group coaching program. And the back end was, filled with all kinds of courses that she had created over the years. And then she had the front end of, guest experts and mastermind and hot seat coaching and all of this kind of stuff. And what she realized, one, it was a year-long program and she got exhausted. But two, nobody was like accessing the content. People weren't even showing up that much for guest experts. All they really wanted was that mastermind, that community where they could just be together and talk through things.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So there's so many questions I have. Like, it's like I've got to wrap my brain around like what's the best direction here to go. All right. So I would imagine, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine that if you're thinking about starting a membership or a community, that there needs to be a central theme, or central purpose, should I say?
Yep.
To the membership. Let's talk a little bit about that, because like I know sometimes I've entertained briefly the idea of having a membership or a community, and I'm thinking, what would I do? There's like a million like business building memberships and communities out there. Like if I started something, I would want it to be very different and very unique and have an edge to it that was different than everything out there. Like what do you recommend if you're thinking about starting that type of model? How do you like determine like a purpose and find an edge for your particular membership?
A couple of things. I always ask people to start with like making sure that it's aligned for them, that model aligns for them, because I am not one to say every business should have one, because I just don't believe that. I want it to be a right fit for each person, and that includes the membership owner. But then really looking at like, what are people coming to you for? What's that thing that you could, they always say, what could you, talk about in your sleep, pretty much. But like, what do you find people coming for? A lot of times that can be something that is the theme of a membership. What's your secret sauce that people keep asking you about? And then the also thing to consider is like what really lights you up, because at the end of the day, if it's completely draining for you, it is not going to be sustainable.
Right. Do you have like any examples of like, I guess, very specific memberships that like really kind of stand out as something that's, I don't know, a little different in the market?
I think if you look at like I'm thinking of a gal that I'm working with now. And so she wanted to create one that was kind of like a networking membership. But as we've kind of unraveled some stuff and kind of gone back and forth, even before our first call, she's kind of getting some more clarity of saying, but wait a minute, there's something more that I'm wanting. Like I feel like people are asking me about, and then really looking at what's filling her cup. She's, at the stage when it's like, okay, I want to fill my cup versus just be bringing money into the, into the bank account. But really looking at that piece of it and kind of unraveling that and restructuring her vision for of what it's going to look like based on, okay, what people come to her, but really also what does she feel like she can offer the world.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's been interesting to watch, because she was pretty set on what she thought she wanted it to be. And as she sat with it, and I have a work where she's kind of going through this workbook, and she's just kind of coming to some different conclusions, which to me was really interesting, pretty early on.
Right, exactly. One of the things I think that I've noticed too about, I've just kind of watched this offer model as an offer strategist. I'm always looking at different offers. One of the things that I've noticed is that sometimes these memberships and community-based offers are on the front end of your offer ecosystem, where they're like feeders. They're designed to be like feeders into your higher ticket offers.
Yep.
And then there's memberships or communities on the tail end. So they've gone through your transformation, and then that offer is on the tail end, is more of a kind of like a continuity, a maintenance, continued support and accountability type offer. Like, what are you seeing people building more of right now?
I see people using that as both of those purposes. That it's like this community kind of goes alongside their one-on-one. So for some people, it's the front end people that's getting more people in, and then it's the tail end too. It kind of keeps everybody in their ecosystem. So I think it works both ways. And then there also are people that are really creating just standalone memberships because it's something that they're really passionate about. Like, I've had people come saying, okay, I am super passionate about this. I don't want this to be my main driver of my business model, but I really believe in it. I want to do it. So they're doing it totally separate from their main one-to-one business, which is also interesting to me.
Like a completely different purpose, like not even
kind of like they just feel like they're. I'm trying to think if I can. I'm trying to think of a specific example, just somebody recently, but it was like they just really believe in that. And so it's something that they want to do, whether it's to give to the world or make a bigger impact, but it's not their primary drive of their business. They're keeping their business model really the same, but they're doing this as an add-on. I think it's just,
kind of driven by, like you said, purpose, passion, something, a cause that's like near and dear to their heart. And they enjoy the community, obviously, the community-based. Let's talk about when you're working with someone. Let's say someone comes to you and they're like, I'm thinking about, starting a membership. Everyone's doing it right now.
Right.
That's the thing. So I'm thinking about doing it. How do you help guide them to understand whether or not a community-based offer or membership model is the right thing for who they are as a person?
Yeah, that's a great thing, because it's not for everybody. So I think, like I said, I have this work where I kind of guide people through, like, okay, let's look at what's your purpose for having it, outside of it just being part of your offer suite or everybody else is doing it, or you want to generate revenue. I just feel like for it to be sustainable, you want it to be deeper or broader than just here's my revenue that's going to bring money in. So if you look at the purpose of it, because that again becomes something that people are invested in doing, they want to keep doing it. So looking at how does it align with everything else, what's your purpose for it, in addition to what's the purpose of the container, but what's the purpose for you? Is it to serve other people? Is it to make an impact in the world? Is it primarily just to have something to drive one-on-one, and that's all fine and good, but really figuring out what your purpose of that is, and then does it fit your personality and how you serve best, and what's your big vision for it? Is it a smaller intimate community? Is it like, okay, I want a large number of people in there because I want it to drive numbers, and getting really clear on that before you say, yeah, I want to do this.
Okay.
And then also looking at your style of how you operate in the world. Are you a person that's going to be drained by it? And that doesn't mean that that's a heck no, we can't do it, but okay, let's structure it so that fits for you if you really still want to have one.
Yeah, so I feel like, and I could be wrong, because I've been in different memberships and I've listened to different hosts and the way they describe their personality, and some of them are introverts. Like I'm an introvert, and
Yep.
the thought of trying to maintain a membership feels very draining to me, because I feel like, and you may like debunk this myth, but I feel like it's something that takes a lot of energy. It's something that it requires you to be like constantly on and available to your community. And if you're not, then you're kind of like just not really serving your community. Like, do you find that more extroverts are like running communities and memberships, whereas like the introverts kind of like tend to shy away from that? Or
I've had a lot of introverts that come to me. I'm introverted, so I feel like is it because I draw them in? I don't know. But I think we really structured them to say, okay, let's put some boundaries in. Okay, you don't have to be on 24/7 answering that, because that's going to be exhausting. Or you bring in a community manager to do some of that navigating of that, and then having this really clear boundaries and really clear expectations of what that's going to look like. So is it going to look like I'm just saying, this gal we just did last couple weeks ago, we looked at that. She's an introvert. So, okay, if it feels draining to think you're going to have weekly calls, and lots of people do weekly calls, okay, then let's look at not doing weekly calls. So she decided to do one call a month, that she knew that she could be really intentional about that, and then giving space to say, here's where you can get questions answered outside of that one-on-one call, in a way that was not going to be draining for her, because that was a big concern for her.
right. In a membership, you talked about like the structure. Let's kind of unpack a little bit, like what are like good performing or high performing memberships? How are they structuring them today? Or is there any one like right or wrong way to do it?
I don't think there's a right way to do it. The wrong way might be to say you're just, I think some people kind of come in, like I look at the people I've worked with, when they've come to me and they've already had one, they were just giving too much. They were just feeling like they needed to give so much value.
Right.
And so they just kept stuffing it with stuff. And I can think of this one client in particular. She just kept wanting to do more and more and more. And she was burning herself out, but she felt like, hey, I need to have this value. I'm like, let's strip that away. Here's what your value is outside of all of that stuff. But I think that natural reaction to just feel like we want to give more and have to always be on or always having calls and stuff, I don't think is the right way to do it, because I think it just becomes not sustainable.
What's the balance of, in terms of like features in a membership, in terms of what members are really looking for that keeps them engaged? What is that balance of features inside a membership that work?
I think the one that works the best is this access where they can ask somebody a question. So whether that's a Q&A call once a month or once a week or whatever, that they have access to that person that's different than something they can just Google, that they can get kind of that one-on-one help or support or accountability, still in a group setting, but that's, that feels not just generic advice. That part, I think people show up for that. And when you keep that, let's say you do once a week or you do twice a month or whatever, if you keep that not just constant, people know they make an intention to say, okay, I'm going to show up. It's not too much. You don't have the brains, the human nature to say, oh, I have calls every week and I'm only showing up once a month. Then our brain says, oh, we're not getting the value that we're paying for this, so we should quit. So there's that balance too.
Yes, right, exactly. I want to talk a little bit about size, and not only for if you're considering like starting a membership or growing a membership for that matter, but even joining memberships. I'm a member of four memberships right now, and they're all very different. I'm an entreprenista. I think you're an entreprenista, right?
I'm not. Nope.
You're not. Okay. So I'm an entreprenista. That is a huge community, like over 3,000 entrepreneurs. So it can be good because there's such a variety of different business owners that are in that community. When you do show up for like the member connects, there's a lot of people. So you have the opportunity to meet different people. But on the flip side, it kind of lacks community because there's so many people. It's so difficult to get to know people. You almost have to have like some type of ability to build like little mini communities inside the big community, right? Or otherwise it's just, you feel like disconnected. Everything's overwhelming in the platform. I just avoid it. Like I just don't even go in there. I'm in another community called the Rising Tide Collective. Its purpose is strictly about building strategic collaborations for your business, like learning how to be in different rooms, partnering with different people, like helping other people, build collaborations. And right now I got in as a founding member. And so right now it's small and it's intimate. But it's very strategic, right? So it serves a purpose in my life. Then I'm in another one, that Back Pocket Insights, which you are in. That community is very intimate. And it happens to be the community where it's just like, okay, this is the community I'm going to be real honest in. Like, I'm going to allow myself to just be transparent, to really like lean into people for support. It's not necessarily a community where I think there's going to be any business exchanged. It's more, these are my humans. Like these are my little entrepreneurial humans that I get to talk honestly with, right? And then I have another one that I'm newer in, and it's supposed to be like a matchmaking type community where it's like, well, let me match you with potential clients or potential people that you might be looking for or whatever. All of them have a different feel. But what I know for me, like the more intimate feel that I get like from Rising Tide Collective or BPI is what I'm searching for. How do you like advise business owners who are trying to either choose communities or grow communities on like the size? Like, is there a particular size that we should aim for to keep people engaged? Because
I don't know if I would say
the whole purpose of a community.
Well, it can. I mean, it can. And there's also, the purpose is people want, like maybe entrepreneurs said they're happy to have it large because then there's just more connections. There's more people you're connected with. It's about growing your network. And so, I think if you're really clear as the membership owner, what your purpose of the membership is, and you personally are saying, I'm really clear of what each of these memberships play in my life, in my business, I think that's really great. Not everybody does that. And I think that's really important to do that, to say, okay, what's the purpose? What am I getting out of it?
Right.
And it doesn't really come down to the size of the container if you're really clear on your purpose. You can have a really big membership. And if that purpose is, okay, we want to create this intimate feeling, or we want to create connections, maybe we structure that in the membership differently. Maybe that's part of how we do engagement, but really staying clear to what the purpose of it is, I think can be really helpful.
Okay.
But I agree with you. Lots of times
that makes a lot of sense.
The smaller ones definitely can feel more intimate.
Yes.
But they also can feel, in the beginning, they can also feel really quiet and people aren't engaged. So there's this balance of, getting people talking and connecting.
Yeah. I
from
feel
the beginning.
I don't know. For me, I feel like there's like this, I don't know, a magic number for me as a person who's in a community. It's like, okay, I would love to be with 50 engaged people, right? That's amazing. Like that's a lot of people to be intimate with and engaged with, right? 3,000 I can't keep up with.
Right.
And like you said, like when it's something like 10 or 12 or 20, it's much, much harder to keep that engagement going. And I think it's harder on the membership owner to keep things going because they've got to do a lot of growing and growing and growing. Speaking of growing, what are some of the tips that you can share for someone who is growing a membership? Maybe it's newer, maybe it's stalled in its growth. what are some of the things that you recommend to get more people into your membership? Because that for me, I think feels like, besides the like managing and being on like a lot, and I get now how I, if I were to do a membership, how I could like structure that differently. But I think about, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend so many hours, so much time just getting one person, one person into the membership. So let's talk about like growth strategies.
And some people come to it, they think, oh, a membership's going to be easier to sell because it is so much cheaper than one-on-one, and not necessarily the case. You guys have to look at your audience and size of audience and all of that. So that's, I think that's a myth. That is not, accurate. In terms of growing it, I think you look at, like, I always like to look at, what's your strategy in terms of growth, in terms of like, are you going to have an open door, closed door? When you have when you have the closed door, you have a little urgency. People have to join for the deadline. And the reality that doesn't align for every kind of membership. Like if I go back to this one for adopted foster parents, it never felt, we were given the advice to say have closed doors, and that never felt good to say, okay, to this parent, okay, you're struggling, so get on the wait list, we open the door in 3 months. So it doesn't fit for every membership, but it also doesn't fit for every person. I think you have to look at what's in alignment for you. Is it, do you do better shutting the doors and just focusing on your people in the membership and then put that energy in growing later? Or do you want to have a constant? So I think really finding what fits for you. And then in terms of promoting it, like really talking about, people are not coming because you're going to say, I've got this many calls a week, or I've got this vault of library, whatever. They are coming for the transformation that they're going to get. And it used to be that the old line was, they come for the content, but they stay for the community. And I think that's flipping now. I think people are coming for the community. So put that into your bringing them in. What you're kind of painting this picture of what this space is. And it is the transformation, yes, but also what does it look like? What does it feel like versus we have X number of calls? Maybe you highlight what the purpose of the membership is, what kind of space that you've created, and really talking about that. And people are a lot more discerning on what they're joining now versus just signing up for lots of things. But you can really paint this picture of what it feels like, which I think sets you apart differently from a lot of other memberships.
Right. Absolutely. What was I thinking? Oh, what I want to talk about is pricing. And, I've seen a lot of different things like free, I see tiered memberships, you join for free and you get X amount, you pay, upgrade to this tier and you get this amount. Or, I've even seen like 3-tiered, or I've just seen straight, it's this flat amount like every month. Is there any one pricing strategy that you feel works? Because I have watched some members, like membership hosts, who have had something free for a while, people are in it, and then they go and say, oh, by the way, now the membership is going to cost X amount per month, and people just drop off like flies.
Yep.
So do you recommend start at a paid
I
membership?
do. Like, I don't love the free one for that same reason. I think, there are a lot of people that are happy to do things for free. And I think we show up differently when we invest. And so even if it's a lower price, I think people show up differently when there's an investment. And there's a hard thing if you all of a sudden you're switching to say, hey, I've been getting this free and now you're going to charge. There's, again, that, psychology of that flips people's brains and like, well, that's a ripoff, versus they might have been interested in it before. And I think there becomes this, there potentially can be resentment from the membership owner. You're doing all this work, you're navigating a lot, and it's not any less work because it's free. And so, and you probably have larger numbers because it's free, and so it becomes, a source of resentment, which I don't think is really great. And the tiered one, I get that, and I do have clients that do that. Again, I kind of go back to, keep it simple. And there's just one decision is I'm in or I'm not in versus, well, which tier is the best for me? And should I change and all of that?
Agreed. So, I'm with you. It's like, I know a lot of people try to, give options to, for maybe, okay, well, it's cheaper if you get this tier or whatever. But I think what happens is you've got decision paralysis. Then you've got someone staring at, these tiers going, like, I don't know what I should do, versus let's just make it clear. It's X
Right.
amount per month, and whatever. Now,
Yep.
another thing on pricing. Do you recommend that someone it's like you come in, there's no commitment, you pay X per month, you can drop out at any time, or you have to have at least 6 months in the membership or 1 year in the membership? Is there any, like,
I think I always like to tell people especially when they're starting, they can have one price or they can have two options. So maybe it's the monthly and annual or monthly and quarterly.
okay.
And I do have clients that have said, when we looked at it, they went with quarterly and annual. So they still had the two options, but monthly felt like there wasn't enough time for them. So they only gave those two options. And that was a really good fit for them. And then you just let them, there's not a big contract. They don't have to stay in, they're not committed to that. They're just choosing one of those two lanes, one of those two buckets. And then they get a lock in at that price. So as long as they're a current member, they get to stay. And that really helps in growth of a membership too, is, people are coming in at that founding member rate, or the price is going up, but they know they're going to lock in at that rate. And so they're more apt to stay.
Right. One of the things I have found frustrating is you join a membership and you start paying, and then you realize, not sure if this is really like a good fit for me. And you go to try to cancel it, and in the back end, there's no place to cancel it. And so then you have to go to the host and say, have that awkward conversation of like, this is not really feeling like a fit, or, this, I'm really trying to cut back my expenses, whatever the story is. It's like, don't make it difficult for people to cancel.
I had one that I had to go. It was a really low cost one, and I had to go find her. And then she told me to do one thing, so I went and did that. I had to go back because that wasn't working, and I was like, it left me with such a sour taste that I would not go back, because I'm like, don't make it hard for people to get out. You feel like you're trapped. It's like that. It's like that used car salesman, or that whole join a membership at a gym, and it's hard to get out. You don't have, make it easy, and then people, that leaves their last taste in their mouth as a positive, easy experience, and they are more likely to come back, or still more likely to share with somebody else about what they gained from it.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's one final question that I feel like probably listeners are thinking about, because like I said, I'm in a lot of different communities, and they're all on different platforms. It's like the platform, I think, is probably one of the most challenging things to like navigate. Like my memberships that I'm in, there's one that's in WhatsApp. There's one that's in High Level. I'm in one that's in School. I'm in one that's in Circle. I'm also in one that is, I don't even know what her backend platform is. I couldn't even tell you. I've never even heard of it. So how do we navigate like that? I think that's what I find the most overwhelming about memberships, is all of the different platforms that people are choosing, and the ease of using that platform. So School, what I like about School is I have an app on my phone, and all of the little communities that I'm in School, some of which I'm active in and some of which I'm not, I can easily like toggle in between them and just go see. But like if it's WhatsApp, for instance, it's just like the chats become like overwhelming, Circle, same thing.
Yep.
Is there any one platform that you think is like really, really good, that you think is really, really user-friendly for members?
I think that, I don't have just one answer for it. Like it used to be back in the day, a lot of people would have their memberships in Facebook groups, and it worked because people were seeing all of that. Well, then Facebook has exploded, and there's just like so much distraction. People are like, no, let's have it off this. And I think there's a value to having it off that, because you're more focused, intentional. but it's a matter of, are they showing up and getting the content? And so
Right.
I think you can have, looking at that choice, what fits well for you, but really what's your member experience. So make sure when you're deciding that you're looking at what does it look like for the members, not just like what does it look like for me in terms of ease of using it. And then really being intentional with how you're communicating with your members, because not all members are great at going and looking at their app on School or on Circle or whatever.
I'm horrible.
I feel I am too, and I feel like I should know better. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I kind of forget, or I think it's been a long time since I've looked there. So communicating with them in their email, just saying, here's what's coming up. Like I always say, let's build that right in the beginning. Like, you can have it set automatically, but you can also have it just be really personal. Here's what's coming up this week. We're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, and then do some celebration like, oh, Lori did this, so let's just cheer on this week. And then you can link it to get them engaged in the community piece of it.
Right.
You just have to kind of train people to go use it. And even then, they're not always great about it,
Yeah,
but
very true.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that they're not getting value. It doesn't mean that they're not showing up, but are they showing up for the calls? That's probably the biggest thing. Are they showing up in person when you have those calls?
Right.
Are they feeling like they're getting their questions answered? Are you having a spot in your platform that you can say, hey, I can't be on the live call, but can I post my question and then I can see the recording of that? Or, is there a way to get my questions answered?
Right. Okay, we talked about a lot. Pricing and structure and just everything. Is there anything I missed that you feel like listeners need to understand about memberships to make an informed decision about whether or not this might be the right choice for them?
I just think make the decision based on you, versus what everybody else is doing. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be one, or it can be one, but it doesn't have to be, it has to be this certain structure. I think you really just focus on what's your purpose of what you want this container to look and feel like, and what you want it to look and feel like for yourself, and really make sure it fits well and design it from the get-go of that way. Or if you already have one and it's not working, well, let's look at what's not working and get rid of those parts that are making it not so fun.
Right. I have one final question, and this is a personal question, but I know if I have the question, other people in the audience have the same question. And that is, kind of bringing it full circle back to when I started. I said, this is the thing that's the rage right now. Everyone's talking about it, and it can tend to make you feel like you're missing out. You have FOMO because you don't really want to create a community-based offer.
Right.
Like, do you feel like business owners that don't create this kind of model are going to miss out, are going to lose business, are going to lose community? Are there any other ways to build community in a business besides running a membership?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to relationships. Like I get this question a lot myself. Like, well, do you have a membership? And I do not. And I can say I have no plans of having one because I really love working one-on-one with a person. It fills my cup, and I'm just like, that's how I want to operate, and I get to choose that. Would my business look different if I added a membership in? Sure, it might. Would it maybe grow better? Maybe, for sure. But
maybe
I also have to look right, and I also have to look at, what do I want to be doing? I'm like, what am I, 57? I'm like, I get to choose at 57. This is just what I want to do. It's like when I picked my niche of membership. All right, I'm just going to stand there because that feels good to me. So the same way how I'm working with my clients. And so I think you create community within your circle of people, whether that's joining a membership for yourself, whether that's, getting in a mastermind, whether that's creating a little mastermind with some of your clients. You can create a lot of different ways to create community that doesn't have to be this membership platform.
I love that. That reframe was probably the best part for me. Because I even started like a little community thing, like a workshop type offer, like, I'm going to run it every other month. And I did it the first month. 2 people showed up. The second month came around. I'm like, I can't do it. I just cannot bring myself to launch this again, to keep trying to get people into a little community. I really love one-on-one work. And so I just replaced that offer with like a one-on-one, like offer audit. It's like, that's where I do my best work.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
I want to give everyone permission to not necessarily jump on that community train,
Right.
or membership train just because
Right.
everyone else is doing it. Like
Right.
Kelly said, there are other ways to build community in your business, and it doesn't have to be a membership. But if you want a membership, Kelly's your girl to
Yeah.
go to and to get assistance with that.
And one thing I
So-
would just add to that is, even if you choose not to have that part of it, you can take community building strategies and put them into your own, how you're operating your own container. Like I have a client that, it's this professional organization, but we're like, okay, she's also, let's put in some of that membership strategy or that kind of communication, that community building into whatever your container is. It doesn't mean that you don't put that kind of stuff into your business or into how you're framing it for your clients.
Love it. Love it. So where can listeners find you? Where do you hang out most?
Business-wise, I'm on LinkedIn mostly, and then my website, but yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah,
Sounds
I'm happy
good.
to connect, and I'm always happy to chat with memberships with anybody. So don't feel free to, or hesitate to reach out if you want to just chat. I'd give you my 2 cents, of whether I think it's a good fit for you or not.
And I know you have a little freebie called "Is a Membership a Right Fit for Your Business?"
Yep.
Tell us just a little bit about that.
It's just it's 15 to 20 minute video, kind of like looking at what we just talked about. Like, is it a right fit? Is it, don't just jump on the train, but let's look at, here's some questions to look, is it aligned for you or not?
Okay, perfect. I will drop that link in the show notes, as well as your website and LinkedIn. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you have provided for us. A lot of value.
Yeah. Thank you. It was a fun conversation.
Okay.